Hi, I'm Jim Campanini, the editor of The Sun, and I want to welcome you to our continuing series of political debates this season that will culminate with Election Day, Tuesday, November 6th. We urge you all to go out to vote in your district. Today we're going to focus on the 3rd State Senate Middlesex District. I am happy to introduce Michael Barrett of Lexington, the Democratic candidate, and Sandy Martinez of Chelmsford, the Republican candidate. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim.
The ground rules are simple. I'm going to be asking the questions. Each candidate has up to 2 minutes to respond. If there's a need for a follow-up, I will ask that question. At the end of the program, with about 5 minutes left, we will let each candidate give their closing statement. And in a coin flip prior to the beginning of this forum, Michael Barrett won with he called the heads, so he will go last. Sandy will give the first statement, or the closing statement. My first question, once again prearranged with a coin flip, goes to Sandy Martinez. Sandy, this is the 4th time running for this seat. You were defeated 3 times by the incumbent Sue Fargo, who held this seat for almost 20 years. I think it was 18 years. Why do you persist in trying to sell your platform to the voters of 3rd District, and what will make this run different?
Well, the first thing I have to say is most of the people that support me applaud the fact that I am persistent and tenacious in going after this seat. Had Abraham Lincoln taken your approach and only run once or twice, he never would have made it to be president. He lost more times than he won.
I didn't take any approach. I said you're persistent.
Newt Gingrich ran multiple times. He ran at least 3 times and lost several times before he ultimately won. And in our own state house, we have a representative, George Peterson from Grafton, who ran twice before he actually won the 3rd time. So it's not unprecedented to try multiple times. The first time was a 3-month run. And running for 3 months, I captured 36% of the vote. The second time was when Obama ran, and not one Republican won that year in Massachusetts. And I upped my percentage of the vote total to 38%. Last time, running against Susan Fargo for the 3rd time, I went up 7 points and captured over 43% of the vote and raised over $100,000. My message is catching on. It's a very big district, and it's very difficult to get your message out. And so I believe in never giving up. And so that's why we're running, and that's why my supporters support me.
Okay.
And
just one follow-up question in 30 seconds, because I have a similar question for Mr. Barrett. How have you evolved as a candidate? So from that first time you ran to now, have you evolved as a candidate?
Evolved from what to what?
Well, do you think you're getting more in touch with the voters, or have you become? You state you're a conservative candidate. Do you think you're a better conservative candidate now, or what are your platform? Has it evolved to?
My platform has pretty much stayed the same, to be a voice of the people. I think that when I'm knocking door to door throughout the district, what I'm hearing people tell me is that they're tired of business as usual, politics as usual. They're tired of somebody making promises in a campaign and not following through. And I've made pledges. They're online on my website, what I plan to do when I'm down there. And I pledge to listen to the voters, to respond to their questions, to vote the way that the voters in the district who are sending me there ask me to.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barrett, you have a lot of political experience, and you're actually making a political comeback after 18 years on the sidelines. Why should voters think that you're in touch with what's happening in a district that is now populated by more unenrolled independent voters, almost 60%, than Democrats and Republicans combined?
Well, I think
you have an extended period to explain this.
I think one of the areas where Sandy and I might agree is that private sector experience actually does equip somebody to be a decent legislator. It is true. I've been on the sidelines for 18 years, but I have been earning a living.
Yes.
I have been raising 2 kids with my wife, and we just graduated them from college. I'm in healthcare IT, healthcare and computers, but I left the legislature in 1994. I ran for governor in the Democratic primary in 94. Did very well in Greater Lowell. Actually, the Lowell Sun endorsed me, I think, in that race.
I saw that on your website. Yeah.
But for the last 18 years, I've focused on technology like the internet and how it can improve healthcare. I began, though, by heading up an organization called the Visiting Nurse Associations of New England. Today, Greater Lowell VNA is a member of that organization. It's a statewide network of home health nurses who do Medicare services, but also work with the big insurance companies in Massachusetts to go in everybody's home after they get out of the hospital and keep them well. So I've been a healthcare provider, but on the business side, I was their lawyer and their CEO as we negotiated with Harvard Pilgrim and with Tufts and with Blue Cross to make sure that nurses were paid decently and could deliver services effectively all through this area.
Well, now you were elected 3 times as a state rep and 4 times, I believe, as a state senator, right?
Yes.
You have a lot of experience going back to 1987?
Actually, I blush to say
Okay.
that it goes all the way back to 1978,
Okay.
when I was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay, but my point is the same question that I asked Sandy. I mean, have you evolved in all that time? How are you a different Democrat now than you were then, or is there any difference?
I've evolved quite a bit, I think. This last 18 years in the private sector has been a revelation to me. I entered the private sector just when the internet was getting born. And after my work with the Visiting Nurse Association, what I became interested in was that our nurses were carrying laptops into patients' homes when doctors and computers didn't know one another. The nurses were actually the pioneers. We were recording all kinds of information. How well did we help people learn to bathe themselves after a stroke? How well did we help people learn to do light housekeeping or cook a meal after a setback? So we started doing data very early, and my last 18 years have been involved with computerization, the internet, smartphones and apps that you can use to deal with your diabetes, your congestive heart failure, your hypertension, stay on an exercise regimen, stay with a healthy diet. So I go back to the legislature with the knowledge of how the private sector works, how job creation can happen, and with a much more balanced portfolio, I think, of ideas and impressions. The last 18 years in the private sector, I think have made me a smarter person. I hope so.
Sandy, he brought up the point, which is a very good one, the private sector. You're a business owner, he's a business owner. What is the difference between the two, your philosophy and his philosophy? Why would you be a better elected candidate than Mr. Barrett? And you both bring business acumen to the table.
We do, but we have a very different philosophy as to the role of government, to taxation, pretty much across the board. We differ exponentially in what we believe. And I think is the Democratic approach the right one, or is the Republican approach the right one, or is it somewhere in between? I think we'll find out on November 6th what the voters believe. But when we take a look at where Deval Patrick has led our state with unemployment, even though it's lower than the rest of the country, we still have one of the highest underemployed rate in the nation. New Jobs for Massachusetts came out with, I think we're number 1 in number of underemployed people. And that is people that have given up looking for jobs because they just can't find one, or they've taken 2 or 3 small menial jobs just to put food on the table. And so there's a lot of change that needs to happen in Massachusetts to bring jobs back. And as far as I know, I'm the only one running for this seat that has actually come up with a jobs plan. And it's posted on my website, and people can go and look for it themselves.
Okay, we'll get into that jobs
Okay.
plan. That'll be another question. But Michael, I'm going to call you Michael instead of Mr. Barrett. I'm calling you Sandy.
Can you
so
call
I'm
me?
gonna
Can you call me Mike?
Yes, Mike.
Okay.
Fine, Mike. Okay, you just heard her answer. She said she's different from you, and she thinks that she's got a better idea by lowering taxes. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, one of the great things about the race, not only are both of us incredibly smart and very articulate, I've enjoyed competing against Sandy, although I'm exaggerating our virtues a little bit. But we do have dramatic differences. I want to quibble, if I might, with Sandy's mention of numbers that I've never heard before. I keep pretty careful track of economic data. It's part of my job. I've never heard it alleged that Massachusetts has the highest rate of underemployed people in the country. I've never seen those numbers. I would challenge her to name the source, but in a good-natured way. I do think that a balance of public sector and private sector activity is best for Massachusetts. Sandy is a member of the Tea Party. She's a co-founder of the Greater Lowell Tea Party, and is proud to be a Tea Party member. I don't think that puts her in the mainstream, even gently to the right of the mainstream. I think it puts her way out on the periphery. I think that there are times when government can do a decent job, and I would point to UMass Lowell system as an example of that. I am a very strong supporter of state public higher education. That does take money, I will concede, but I think it's government doing something decent. My daughter just graduated from UMass Amherst. She got a terrific education. I have twins. They both just graduated from college. One went to a very expensive private liberal arts school and got a great education, but her twin sister, identical twin, went to UMass Amherst and got a fabulous education, won a Fulbright scholarship given by the State Department, is in Australia as we speak. And I can tell you personally that there are instances where government can succeed brilliantly for Massachusetts, and there are other times when government has to back off.
Okay, you made a point. You said Sandy's the Tea Party that puts her out on the fringe. Do you think that she's extremist?
No, I don't. I think she's sincere and smart, but her ideas are dramatically different than mine. And the Tea Party affiliation is something that she claims. It's nothing that I've conferred upon her. But we do differ. I'm pro-choice for women. Sandy is pro-life or anti-choice. I do believe that gays should be able to marry whomever they deeply love. Sandy disagrees with gay marriage. So on social issues and on economic ones, she's endorsed by Citizens for Limited Taxation. I'm not. I think there's a real choice for people. And in that sense, the race has been very exciting.
How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, I don't know...
Do the social issues really matter in this race this year?
They really don't. I shared last night with Mr. Barrett that as I'm knocking on doors, it's not coming up at all. What people understand my position on the life issue, and they understand that I'm pro-life. But what they're talking about is jobs, the economy, taxes. Nobody is asking me anything at all about those positions. In the past, it was important to a small number of people that I met in the race. There is a huge pro-life community in Massachusetts, but again, that's not what their single issue is. I mean, it's an important issue to them. Right now, jobs and economy and the taxes is what's on everybody's mind. I also would challenge Mr. Barrett. I don't know whether he knows the history of the Tea Party at all, but when it first was founded in 2009, it was in response to the stimulus that was being proposed. The huge bailout. It is anti-spending unnecessary money is what it was founded as. We had our first Tea Party rally on the steps of the Lowell Courthouse, the Lowell City Hall, and over 400 people showed up. But what really brought people out was Obamacare. People were furious. They did not want Obamacare, at least not in the Greater Lowell area, and we had over 1,000 people come out in protest for Nikki Tsongas. So I think you're wrong in thinking it's an extreme position.
They were protesting against Nikki Tsongas?
Against her position and her advocating for Obamacare. And if you ever want to see the tape, I'd be glad to share it with you.
Okay, but you mentioned that Massachusetts has one of the highest underemployment. Where do you get that
from? New Jobs for Massachusetts. Mike Ruby's new group that's just started, and I believe, I can't swear where he got the numbers from, whether it was the NFIB or something, some group here in Massachusetts. It might have even been the Pioneer Institute. Not sure. But he put out the position paper that we're #1 in underemployment in the nation.
All right, well, I'll have to check that. But you make a point about jobs. Your job. What is the cornerstone of your jobs program? What is the cornerstone? What is the key to your jobs program that you said that you have a jobs proposal?
I think we have to remove the regulations that are holding small businesses back. We have to lower the taxes that are causing businesses to leave the state, fleeing, shuttering their doors and fleeing. I have a 5-point plan. I haven't memorized it. It's something that I'm excited about. There are so many things that we can do to help small businesses grow. One, we can change the independent contractor rule. When I first started my own IT consulting company, I was an independent contractor. They changed the rules, and I had to become a limited liability corporation, which was extremely expensive. I could no longer just consult as a 1099. That made jobs dry up for me. I think if we changed it back, many more young startups could start up more easily. And those are just some of the points in my plan.
Mike, You're self-employed, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you have experience regulatory practices, some
Yeah.
good, some bad.
I'm an attorney as well, by the way.
Okay, so looking at it from your business lens, all right, is the way Massachusetts regulatory practices and laws are set up right now, are they conducive to growing your business? Have you felt any constraints? Are they just right? What do you think?
They've been relatively immaterial to my being able to get clients. And by the way, my consulting practice is international as well as national. It's not focused on state clients because the healthcare IT, healthcare and computers, is kind of a niche business, and you go where the work is. I want to say, with respect to Sandy, that I would agree with Sandy that it's very important that this be a good state for independent contractors. However, I think that the tightening up that she mentions wasn't a state act. It was actually necessitated by IRS regulations. But it's something that she and I are both interested in. I can tell you that there's actually been a bump up in general in sole proprietorships in Massachusetts. There are lots of new businesses starting up here, including one-person businesses. And one of the key factors making it kind of easy for people like me and Sandy to operate is Obamacare and the Massachusetts president for it. Because as soon as we created health insurance for all, your need to stay in a medium to large size organization to ensure health insurance for your family, job lock is what we used to call it, goes away. You can be assured of being able to, with one key exception that I'll mention, the cost of insurance. But health insurance for all means that you can leave an intermediate or large size organization to start your own business and know that there'll be continuity in terms of health care for your family. So we have ended job lock, which used to be my need to keep health insurance for my kids. And it's been an incredible thing. So in terms of friendliness to small business, Massachusetts has taken a great step forward. And by the way, jobs are not fleeing the state. I don't know where Sandy got that idea. We do have an unemployment rate below the national average. We are actually creating more jobs than other states, and we're retaining those that we have. They're not leaving, they're staying. That's how you wind up with an unemployment rate below
The lowest figures that came up, it did go up a little, 6.3%.
But on any sort of 3 or 6 month trend, we're doing pretty well.
Okay, but the Boston Globe had a story just yesterday's paper. Economists are saying that the mass economy is slowing down a bit.
Because of business in Europe and all kinds of external factors.
There are a lot of factors.
Yeah, that'll affect all of us, no question. But we've managed to do better than other states. And I might mention, when I was coming up to Lowell this evening, I noted the number of cars, these are people ending their workday this evening, going back with New Hampshire plates, going back to New Hampshire, vis-a-vis the number of cars coming down from New Hampshire from jobs with Massachusetts plates headed this way. And I can tell you, Jim, most of those cars had New Hampshire plates. They work in Massachusetts at jobs that we've provided, and they're going north where the housing is more affordable, and nothing wrong with that. The point is that the Massachusetts economy, even relative to the low-tax state of New Hampshire, is much healthier than New Hampshire's, and that's something that occasionally we miss. Our state economy is 600% the size of New Hampshire's. So I say we've got enough jobs for folks in Massachusetts, although I'd like to have more, and I want to have more. We've also got lots of jobs we're giving New Hampshire residents, and, you know, we want to be self-critical. We know we can do better. We never want to rest easy, but we're doing okay.
Okay, but Sandy brought up the part about taxes. Both of you have talked about taxes. She wants to lower taxes. You have on your website a plan. You believe that the gas tax should be increased by 4 cents.
That's right.
Okay, the state tax,
That's right.
which is now about 42 cents.
No, actually, it's 21 cents.
Okay, 21 cents. Okay, so it's 21 cents. It'll go to 25 cents. You say that the average person will pay $24. You know,
a little less than $24 if they travel 12,000. And by the way, the money would stay here. So here's what I propose.
It would generate $126 million.
Right,
okay?
in the aggregate.
So the question is, why? What do we need $126 million
for? Infrastructure investments, for roads and bridges around Greater Lowell, and for the MBTA south of here. So we do have some needs that have gone unaddressed, and infrastructure is a very serious one. This district is linear. It extends all the way up to Chelmsford, and then